All right, welcome to another Q&A. This week, we actually had a mastermind call again with High Six, and what's really cool is they get to bring their current stuff to the mastermind call and go, here's what I'm dealing with, and we on the fly work it. This, you never know where it's going to go, and this one, interestingly enough, started out with, what if a seller tells you they're listed with a realtor? And the couple of the associates were like letting that go and not considering it a lead. So we're going to talk about that and some other seller scripts about, how do you properly talk to sellers? These are all tweaks that as soon as you know them, as soon as you understand the scripts and you internalize them and you're confident about them and you know all the commonly asked questions, there's not thousands, there's like a handful, right? There's like a dozen. Once you know that, you can't wait to pick up the phone because in the creative real estate world, you have the answers now. You are head and shoulders above any other investor because you have the answers and you can pivot in any market, up, down, or sideways. Cycles are awesome. Real estate cycles are awesome. We're going to talk about that at many of our events coming up, but it is by far the best time to be in creative real estate when you understand how to talk to sellers. And you're about to see it live.
So for me, I've been off track the last couple of weeks because of my W-2, but I feel like I'm getting in a better place now. And like everything has suffered, my dials, everything. So I even did a follow-up call last week because Brian's like, try to do at least one call a day to keep things going. So I did one and I ended up losing it because the seller said that they hadn't heard back from me, so that they ended up relisting with a realtor. So I was like, okay, ouch. And then I remember Mike McCready saying, well, why bother making dials if you're not doing the follow-up? So I'm trying to focus on some of the follow-up right now to stuff that I had in the queue before.
Okay, cool. I had a question on the one that said they listed. That's still a lead. Did you use the realtor script right away? How long you tied up for on that or no?
I did.
Great.
And he basically said I signed a conventional listing for 6 months, but I think it'll go pretty fast this time. And I said, well, what makes you think it'll go faster this time than last time? And he said it's a better time of year and there's been more activity already. So
that's what the realtors tell them. I think Brian and I chuckled at the same time because the fact is, as a seller now, they have more competition going into the spring than they ever did.
Right.
So that's okay. That's good for you. And then did you leave the cliffhanger of if you don't get full price in the time you want, feel free to call me?
I did. And I told him that I would check back in with him in a couple of weeks just to see how it was going and to stay in touch.
Perfect. I don't see a tweak there, Ben, Brian. It's good.
I don't either. I just think this came up yesterday with the realtor thing at the time of year. It's just hilarious. The realtors don't decide who buys the house. The banks do.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it doesn't make any difference if it's June or December. The banks are not in a better mood in the springtime. Like they don't loosen up their restrictions, their guidelines.
I would think if anything, it's gotten worse.
Yeah.
Since he was last listed.
Yeah. So you're gonna lead there still. That's good. I never don't feel bad. Because I leave some sit so long, I'm like, oh man, I haven't called these back. And then lo and behold, they did so. Okay, that's fine. Keep dialing.
Yeah.
No big deal. Okay.
That could also be justification, Judy, for that seller who wasn't going to do anything with you anyways at this time, because again, they're brainwashed into thinking that, well, it's going to be better this time because it's the time of year and everyone's getting in their head. So I wouldn't beat yourself up over it. Even if you did call, he probably would have done that.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Yep. Okay. Anything else on that, on the prospecting front, Judy? I think you're good.
So I do have a fair amount of leads that I need, especially after that. That kind of gave me a kick in the butt to go through my file and make sure that everything is on track. So I've got a bunch more that I need to follow up with.
Great. And to Mike's point, it's a good reminder for everyone. I don't have the percentage anymore, but if I had to quantify how many my deals came from follow-up versus the initial call, it's most.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Just because we're on script, then if you guys, whatever other questions we have, I want to know if you guys had the issue that came up in the last call, which was, I forget who started it, Brian, but then they all chimed in, and that was a seller that's like goes at them or gets belligerent or is just in a bad mood, nothing to do with us. Like, and they want to know how to handle that. Morris felt like he had to soften it, and all these things came up. Do you guys, any of you guys get that challenge? Are you okay with no one's like reacted to? Or
I had one last week. Guy literally told me,
what did you say that to caught like what did he's probably having a bad day, but how far did the conversation get?
hey, my name is Tony. I was calling about the property that you had listed for sale at one point in time at XYZ. Just calling to curious. I was curious to see if it was still for sale. Yeah, it's still for sale.
Okay, so he got a few too many calls that day. I'll tell you what I would do. Well, let me ask you what you did first. Did you just throw away?
I used it as a good opportunity.
Meaning?
He was in the wrong spot at the wrong time.
Yeah. Yeah. Who
So
knows?
I can have it. I let him have it.
Oh, you did?
Oh,
I thought
fuck
you hung
yeah.
up. Okay.
I gave it right back to him.
And then how did it end?
He hung up on me.
Okay, here's my thing, guys, and you might disagree, and I want to hear if you do. I would do two things. One, I would send the form letter, not now.
Okay.
Two, I would call in about 60 days or have someone else call in 60 days. He won't even freaking remember you.
All right.
Call from a different number. He will not remember you.
Okay.
Thoughts, Brian? Or more or less, or?
Yeah, I was just say if he didn't hang up, if the guy didn't hang up, I would have handled it differently, Tony.
Of course, I would have too.
Yeah.
I would have
get-
too. And it was just a unique situation, and there's no doubt in my mind that it's the script of I'm sorry I said something wrong or caught you at a bad time. Maybe it's a better time to call you back or something like that, other than letting him have it.
What would you have done, Brian?
Yeah, I mean, if he didn't hang up on me, I would have just said, "Are you okay? Are you all right? Is everything okay?"
That's really good.
I'm just trying to buy your house. Is it for sale? That
that's a
doesn't
little
happen to
aggressive.
me that much. That doesn't really happen to me. It used to happen to me, and that's what I used to say. I'm like, "Are you okay? Everything all right?"
I like it. It's a good nugget.
Yeah, I can do that next time.
Yeah. Well, that's what this is for, Tony, right? We're stacking layers here. Yeah, you find out what didn't work and you keep stacking. But send the form letter in 60 days. Good. Do we have any other script related while we're on this? Because this is good to stay on the mental piece of this. Anything else script related or no?
The other thing that came up was the other thing that came up in that call was people who are saying, "Hey, like, I'm getting so many calls. Like, so many people are calling me. So many people are calling me." So that's where it kind of spawned from. I think it was Corolla.
That might have been that guy. Who knows? Because we don't know. But that might have been him. He might have got hit with a bunch of realtors, and he thinks Tony's obviously a realtor or a wholesaler. And yeah.
Well, that's a kind of a good lead into a question about voicemails. So I've gotten a little bit of feedback with I don't feel like my return calls are the ratio is high enough. Like if I left 50 messages, I got 9 calls back. It seems
has anyone critiqued those messages yet for you?
No.
Okay, so that's a number one. I did it with Morris, and we got some extra calls back. I had extra callbacks. I posted in the High Six channel. I haven't checked in with them, but right away it changed. So send me 2 quick voicemails and Brian 2 quick. They take 2 seconds to listen to. So send us each 2.
Right.
And then we'll tweak them. Probably we'll come up with something different each of us. So you try them both.
Okay.
Is there a % callback that we should be targeting? So I kind of feel the same way as Tony's, that I get some, but they don't typically leave a message. They'll leave a message if they'll say, "Oh, I got your letter and thank you, but we already sold," or, whatever the reason is, just wanted to let you know. Appreciate you reaching out.
Brian, do you have a percentage? I don't have a set percentage. Honestly.
I don't like to. I mean, it's not something we really track, but what
No.
Tony's return that's 18% right there. So it's kind of like dial to live. So if you can get in the 20% range, that's pretty good. Because what's happening with voicemails is, again, think about your own phone. Like I have voicemails on my phone that I haven't checked in weeks. Okay. So sometimes people just call the number back or they don't get it. My wife told me that there's this thing where you can program your iPhone for any number that's not in your contact. Any number that's not in your contacts goes automatically to voicemail. So they don't even get the ring. So this is Apple doing this, and most people have iPhones, right?
Mm.
So, and that's what you're calling. So that's why we're looking at the frequency of dialing. The message is important on the voicemail, but the frequency of dialing, the same number needs to be showing up multiple times, and then they start answering.
Okay.
That's the key. So call the same list 5 times.
Yeah. And
And
based
I
off of the, go ahead. Sorry, Chris.
No, I think Brian's, you're pretty close because I think you are on it with the 20-ish, because remember that comment I made, like I'd go dial and I'd come home and tell Kim, oh, I made a crap load of messages. No one was in, but the next day I'd have 5, 6 calls. Well, in an hour or 50-minute sprint, remember you can do 28 to 38 calls. So 20% sounds strong. 20 and up sounds really strong if you want some kind of a guide. Go ahead, Tony. Sorry.
Right. Based off of, the comment about getting a lot of calls at this time of year from realtors and things, I specify, and when I send my critique over, I specify that I'm not a broker and I'm not an agent. I'm looking to buy your house. And I had one guy call me back and he was like, I called you back because you said that you were not a realtor, you were not a broker, and you were looking to buy my house. And you're very clear about that. You're very specific about that. And it turned into a lead. So that I do make sure. What's that?
There's your test. You just test, right?
Yeah.